Hey everyone, it's your favorite Turing complete test. uh no, but today I wanted to tackle the question, how far can we take arguments from nature? Now if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that about 2 years ago I made a video asserting that humans are not natural, but I kinda wanted to be a little bit more objective, a little bit more like academically philosophical about it this time, but I will also leave that one in the description. And all I mean by arguments from nature is arguments that are in the form of um X is natural or unnatural, so we should or shouldn't do it. Um And I really guess that means, first off, we should really ask ourselves, like, what do we mean by nature? And typically, in, sort of normal everyday discourse, by nature, we usually mean either one, the inherent character and like psychology of human beings, or physiology of human beings, better said, to um the world outside of human civilization. So like basically, grass, fields, the outside world. And three, we usually mean stuff that's organic, let's say, versus, you know, specifically most of the time, like electro electrical technology or industrial technology. And the reason why I didn't include it as part of um the second definition is that, those technologies specifically have just, more than any other technology, drastically changed in human history, drastically changed the way we interact with those other forms of nature. So I do think that it deserves its own uh part of the definition. And I mean, I have to be honest with you guys. I think arguments from nature are pretty weak. Uh in the sense that, from an argumentative point of view, they're not really that strong. I mean, I know that moral reasoning is very subjective a lot of the times, but you know, you could conceivably rationalize anything as being natural or unnatural. Um but that doesn't necessarily say anything about its moral or ethical content. You know what I mean? Like, I could say, like, I don't think it's natural for humans to be so competitive the way we are, or our society to be so competitive the way we are. I think that's, incorrect. I think we should cooperate more. I think we should care about each other more, because I do think that's part of human nature. We've always lived in groups, in uh in packs and stuff like that. That's the bedrock of civilization, is care. Let's just say I believe that, hypothetically, well, someone could just as easily say, and lots of philosophers have, Hobbes, um social contract theorists, that, well, actually, no, it's not that way. In a state of nature, everyone fends for themselves. Like, I'm not sure where this quote comes from, but I have heard it just sort of in the zeitgeist. Like, you know, when your family has no food, see how moral you are, see how long it takes you to not follow the law, right? And so you can kind of see both sides, but either way, I'm not really sure if that type of reasoning, that argument, those arguments from nature ultimately lead us any further to the truth of what it is to be human, right? In the sense that, like, really no human, unless you're some uncontracted tribe, is divorced from, or like is born outside of modern society. So in essence, you just stay in your bubbles. You know what I mean? Another thing too is that, especially with the second and third definitions that I sort of delineated, that I sort of talked about, um as a disabled person, and I'm going to bring my experience into this, it's very easy for people to say, and some people have argued this in, especially in regards to euthanasia, euthanasia. Hopefully gets me uh it gets me or protects me from this video getting, what, that I pronounce it those ways. Like, it's very easy for people to say, oh well, you know what, these people, just because they don't fit, and it usually is disabled people, the physiological idea, be that mentally or physically, um of what is natural. But the thing is, I really think when people say that, what they really mean is average. In the sense that, obviously, I can't walk and I have brain damage and I shake a lot, I'm spastic, but, excuse me, you know, I'm still here. I'm still here, guys, and um it's really never about whether or not you're natural, because, like, of course, man, I came out of a woman's womb, or stomach, right? Depending on uh if your mom got a cesarean or not, just like you all. Um and yeah, I think when able-bodied people, especially supporters of that certain right, when they say that, what they mean is that we're not like the others. That's what they mean. Um and usually they use the third sort of claw or anchor of nature, um you know, being opposed to industrial society in some way, or modern technology, that is to say digital or electrical technology, in order to justify it usually. So the three definitions of or criteria of nature, those last two often go hand in hand with one another. Um and it's like I don't even necessarily disagree in the sense that, you guys know that recently I made my peace with nature. I think there are problems with us being shut in. I do think, because regardless of whether or not I use a modern industrial electromechanical device to get around, you know, I'm still very aware of the alienating um effects of industrial society and technology. But once again, my my issue with arguments from nature and people that use them is that, like, I'm here, yes, it was with help, but humans have always used technology and um for better and for worse affected their environment, or tried to, I don't want to use the word dominate, because that comes from a very specific, like, European um conception. I would say maybe sometimes also colonial conception of of what humans were put on this earth to do, which is, like in Genesis, be fruitful, multiply, and dominate the earth, basically. But, you know, so once again, but there's so much focus on modern technology that like you I guess, pun not intended, but you can see the forest through the trees. Um, and you realize, like, we've been doing that forever, basically. Now, you can have an issue with the way industrialization has allowed us to do it unsustainably, and, like, at levels, once again, never ever seen in human history before. Like, these last 200 years, 250 years of human history, maybe, have, which is not a long time in geological scales, have just, you know, really blinded us to the fact that there is a balance to be had between technological advancement and um the ways in which modern electrical technology and digital technology has allowed people like me to have a shot at living not just a life, but a good life, or at least an okay life, a happy life, um, with with questions about sustainability, about, you know, is it too much? I would say it is, but I don't think, once again, that arguments from nature are really good at dealing with them again, because you can easily fall into that slippery slope of, well, okay, now X, Y, and Z group deserves to be treated differently or doesn't deserve to be here at all. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.